Highlights from our interview with longtime church evangelist Mark Finley and his wife Ernestine.
The Siegfried Horn Museum is at the forefront of archaeology.
History professor Brian Strayer releases a book of laughs.
A look behind the scenes at one student's journey to AU Talent Show.
We took to the streets across campus for your opinion on the race-based separation of church conferences.
Plus, This Week in Andrew's History.
And the latest with the Cardinals basketball team.
AU News starts right now.
This is AU News.
Welcome to AU News. I'm Fonda Mwangi.
And I'm Kenny Nogueira. AU News is produced by the Advanced News Production class in the Department of Communication.
Last Fridays, our reporters Emmanuel Leonard and Karija Abakan interviewed evangelist Mark Finley and his wife Ernestine at Pioneer Memorial Church. The couple was on campus for a week-long series of meetings, culminating on the first ever School of Graduate Studies consecration service last Sabbath.
I know before you joined us this week, Mrs. Finley, you accomplished something very significant this past Sunday. You, at the age of 70, completed your very first marathon, and you ran 26 miles.
There were three reasons that I was running. Number one, I wanted to glorify God in my own body and wanted to improve my own health. Then number two, I teach health classes. So I thought I want to inspire them that they can make lifestyle changes, they can do it. And then the third reason is that we're building a church and a training center and a health and community center. And so someone suggested you need to run for that center.
Before you came here, you were in Dominican Republic, where 14,000 people gathered, and about 3,000 people were baptized at an evangelistic series.
There is a real spirit of service, a spirit of commitment, a spirit of mission in the Dominican Republic, and we saw God work in some very, very incredible ways. On Sabbath, we had 15,000 people in the stadium that seats about 12,000. I mean, people were everywhere, and we had 5,000 people outside. 300 buses brought people, and we really sensed the power of God come down.
How can we as Adventists use these changing technologies to further God's ministry, or use it to the best of our abilities as Adventists?
I think internet has an incredible potential. I mean, I would encourage every local church to become a center of influence, not only to its community, but to the world. Radio, television, cost is coming down. And so Adventist churches have a tremendous impact, and we as individuals today. And so technology today gives you a great opportunity to influence for the kingdom of God, but it doesn't replace getting your arm around somebody.
As you know, the General Conference session is approaching, and there are a lot of hot topics that people are looking forward to talk about. One of those topics is women's ordination.
In my viewpoint, when we approach a subject that the church at large will make a decision on, ordination is something that in the Seventh-day Adventist Church has been a worldwide global ordination. When you're ordained, you're not ordained in a locality, but you're ordained to represent the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So the question becomes, in my thinking, how will I relate if the General Conference session votes differently than my passionate conviction? In areas that I control in my personal life, I follow my conviction. In areas of the corporate church, I accept the decision of the corporate church, believing that God leads the corporate church. I believe that God will lead the church to make a decision that is biblical, a decision that focuses on mission, because after all, the essence of the decision we make must focus the church on mission. It must be faithful to the Bible. Here are my true criteria for the decision. It has to be faithful to the Bible and enhance the mission of the church so that we can release the gifts of the Spirit so that Christ can come.
Besides the issue of women's ordination, another issue that the church faces is the retention of young people in the church.
I believe that the way to keep young adults engaged in the church is through involvement. when you were involved in the church and you're actively involved in mission, that makes a major difference in your commitment to the church.
The Siegfried Horn Museum has a new exhibit. Our reporter Gadiel Zelaya Martinez digs deeper into the issue of how Andrews has been at the forefront of archaeology.
This semester, the Siegfried Horn Archaeological Museum is exhibiting rare artifacts found in Jordan. Not only are the artifacts rare, but so is the loan agreement with Jordan.
We have a lot of very long-term contacts and relationships with the Department of Antiquities, and so we have a very good relationship and I might say a good reputation in Jordan, and that's something we respect and want to continue.
That's Professor Jeffrey Houdon. He's affiliated with the Jordan Field School at Andrews University. In recent years, countries are determined to keep archaeological finds within their borders, but the Horn Museum has largely avoided this problem. Dr. Jacob Moody is the assistant to the curator at the Horn Archaeological Museum.
Jordan has a rich history and has a rich biblical history, and Andrews University has been involved with the country of Jordan since the 1960s.
The current exhibition features 53 rare figurines from between the 8th and the 6th century BC.
These are two figurines that were found just this past season in Jordan. They're broken. This is a head of a male figurine. He's wearing a tall conical hat. This one over here is the torso of a woman, and she was holding something in her arms, but it's broken off. You can't see. You know, obviously her head is gone, her legs are gone. This one, his body's all gone. And very rarely do we find full, complete, intact figurines. Figurines are just a very interesting part of what we excavate.
There is an important aspect to the relationship between the Horn Museum and the Department of Antiquities of Jordan.
While we are the ones excavating it and the stuff belongs to Jordan, we are also the ones that have to publish everything that we find. That's part of the contract that we have with the government.
It's a relationship that Andrews hopes to maintain as they make further trips to the region and unearth biblical and historical insights into the past.
Whatever tool you use in archaeology, you never know what the next movement of dirt will uncover, and it makes it exciting.
This is Gadiel Zelaya Martinez reporting for AU News.
Dr. Brian Strayer is legendary to a generation of students who've taken his history classes. He has now compiled a book featuring humorous quotes from student papers over the years. Here's Fonda Mwangi with more.
Arriving at Andrews in 1983, Dr. Brian Strayer brought along an old hobby with his teaching skills, collecting bloopers from his students' essays.
The process began, I think, back at the University of Iowa, 1978. I taught freshman and sophomore level students, and all of the exams were essay exams. So I began to notice these little bloopers showing up from time to time.
Romans were known for the aqueducts, and other gems of wit and wisdom in Western civilization came out last fall, adding to Strayer's collection of books he has published. Strayer shares his favorite excerpts from the book.
Then I chose a passage from the final chapter, chapter 26. The KKK is an especially black period. During the 1960s, Elvis Presley sang songs about bad relationships. Then on November 22, 1963, John F. Kennedy was assassinated by Oswald, who himself was later killed by James Knox Polk. And my footnote explains, the idea of a Back to the Future Polk-JFK connection opens the way for yet another conspiracy theory.
Besides giving him bloopers, he has been given an old but lasting nickname. Dr. Myers, former student of Dr. Strayer, took a World Civ class from him. She is now the current chair of the history department.
I took that class from him, and he even then had the Strayer the Slayer nickname. He had the reputation then of being a very difficult professor, and he was. I mean, he was very demanding, but it was really a really great experience. It was a lecture discussion, mostly lecture, essay exam course, and it was a tough course, but I still remember that as being a really great experience.
With his book, now in publication, Dr. Strayer says this one stands out in a memorable way.
Well, this was probably the most fun of any of the books that I published. It just came out this last fall, and I have shared some of these bloopers with my Civ students, and they still think they're funny.
This is Fonda Mwangi reporting for AU News.
Dr. Strayer plans to retire at the end of a spring 2016 semester.
The AU Talent Show is one of the most talked about events of the school year, and whether to participate or not is one of the questions facing the talented folks on campus. Lucero Castellanos takes us to meet one of the contestants.
Gabriela Bruno, a senior music education major, is preparing for her big night at the Howard Performing Arts Center.
Off we go!
Gabriela's journey to AU's Got Talent began a week ago when she auditioned to sing.
I've been singing since I was 3 years old with my sisters.
Her love for singing is what inspired her to fight through the nerves and show us what she really is all about. The night before the event, Gabriela makes sure she is fully rested.
I usually try to go to bed early so I can get full-time sleep and charge my batteries. You need to prepare yourself mentally, physically, and of course spiritual.
Excited, she picks out what she will wear.
I am excited. I have vocalized a little bit, but after I finish this, I'm gonna continue vocalizing my high notes, to get them all set up. Well, this is the dress I chose. I hope I don't look, I'm gonna put a belt. So you're gonna see the final set, the final ka-ching, So I'll see you later. So I'm excited, I can't wait.
On the night of the talent show, as students stream into the auditorium, Gabriela is backstage, busy practicing. Gabriela was up against 12 contestants. Then it's her turn to take the stage to sing I Believe by David Foster. Her performance is well received.
This is something that I will remember for the rest of my life.
Then came the announcement of the winners, chosen by the audience electronically via text.
Again, thank you to all of our contestants, but our first place winner is Sue Johnson.
Gabriela did not win, but that did not dampen the experience. She was still overjoyed and happy to encourage others to participate in the future.
I will say, just go for it. Go for it. There's a lot of people that they need to go out there and be more confident as well. They can practice that. And there's so many talents that people haven't seen. So just go for it. You can do it. You can do it, I know.
This is Lucero Castellanos for AU News.
A few weeks ago, a petition was circulated by Pioneer Memorial Church to end race-based conferences. It's an issue Mark Finley addressed in his interview with us.
Regional conferences, one must know the history, the background of regional conferences. Regional conferences grew in the late 1940s when, at a time in America where there was very sharp racial division, racial prejudices. At that time, young African leaders were not provided the opportunity, unfortunately. As I look back at early Adventist history, early Adventist pioneers were involved often in the abolitionist movement. They were involved in what was called the Underground Railway, where they were able to have safe havens for slaves. So early Adventists were involved in that. As time went on, the Adventist Church at times, and I'm careful what I say, but at times exhibited the racial inequities that were present in society. And I think the church has to face that. There were times that we didn't do it right. Unless we acknowledge that, it's difficult to move on. So there were times that the church did not do it right. We acknowledge that. Regional conferences served a major function in helping a whole generation and generations of young African American leaders to rise to their destiny, to fulfill their potential, to become conference presidents and now union presidents. We need to remember that in North America, that we don't have regional conferences around the world, okay? This is a North American division phenomena. And in North America, of our unions, we have two that do not have regional conferences, North Pacific Union and the Pacific Union. So it's not unilateral in North America. There are those African American leaders who believe that regional conferences have served their purpose. There are other African American leaders who don't believe that. They believe that we still need them. I will tell you what my own personal viewpoint is, and I don't speak for the corporate church, but I'll tell you what my personal viewpoint is. That if you do away with regional conferences tomorrow, you don't solve the problem. There may be a time where regional conferences are not necessary, but the heart of the issue is the respect for one another and racial harmony and unity. So if we don't deal with the fundamental core of the issue, we are dealing with something that is a structural issue. So I think you have to deal with the heart issue. So where I believe the church needs to place its emphasis is on the brotherhood, the sisterhood, the human dignity, the worth, the respect that we have for every human being, and bringing each ethnic group, Hispanics, Asians, African Americans, to see the value that everyone brings, to see the significance that they bring, that we are one family and one church. And if in the process of dealing with that, we don't need regional conferences, I say, if we don't, I'm okay with that. But I'm not okay with simply dismantling regional conferences without a process in place. And I leave a lot of that as far as in discussions with my African American friends and the leadership, because they're in touch with what needs to be done. Now, I would say this. If you ask most people under 40, they would say, we don't understand in our generation why they exist. But the history is important and the value is important.
We took to the streets to get your take on this controversial issue.
I think it's very interesting that there are two separate conferences for race, and when I first heard about it, because I'm not from the States, I was really surprised.
I personally think that, black and white conferences were created when black and white relations weren't the best.
They may have served a purpose to separate the conferences, but I think that we've reached a point where they don't have to serve that purpose anymore.
I think that having two conferences, like a black conference and a Caucasian conference, would kind of defeat the purpose of having a church, I guess.
I don't think there should be two conferences. I mean, we're all about unity, we're all about equality. Why would there?
It seems like something that is so obviously strange and different from what we believe.
It's a cliche to say that we're not going to be separated in heaven, but it's true. So why would we separate the church on earth?
We should all be able to come together as just people of God and children of God.
There shouldn't be two different conferences on it because they need to work together.
We should not, I don't believe, really have separate organizational systems depending upon your ethnic group. That's gone away in this country. It needs to go away in our church.
I still do think that we should find a way to unify all of our conferences, but still have every group be represented and be taken care of.
It's okay to be okay with your church and to enjoy where it is that you go and go where you feel your needs are being met.
We're all not of the same culture, so it helps to be in a conference that helps you that understands your culture.
This week in Andrew's history. In 1961, the Campus Center, then known as the Campus Health Center, was finally built. But it wasn't without much perseverance. In the fall, then-President Floyd Rittenhouse had vowed, "The Campus Health Center will be in use before the end of the semester, unless the Russians atomize us or we run out of money." 30 workmen pushed ahead through the fall with the project of 110,000 bricks and 30,000 square feet of glass. Neither the Russians nor the budget attacked, but it would be winter before the student body could occupy the building.
We turn now to sports, and our reporter Evan Rory is here in the studio with highlights from the Cardinals basketball team. So Evan, how are the Cardinals doing?
Well, this month they're doing very well, actually. They got their first home win on past Thursday, and they hosted on Saturday night the Great Lakes Christian College, hoping to receive their second win for the season.
The Cardinals are off to a very good start early on in the first half, moving the ball around very effectively, and here we find Kobe Meyer dishing it off to Andrew Simpson, who drills in his first layup, and from there the Cardinals were off. More passing and more executing for the Cardinals. Here, still moving the ball around very effectively, but here Robert Moon passes it out to Brandon Vanderpowski, who drills in the first three for the night. Brandon finished with 10 points, 4 rebounds, and got 2 assists as well. Scores now 20 points to 8. Next play, an inbound that goes to Captain Robert Moon. He gets the beautiful shoulder shake and banks in his first hook shot of the night. The Cardinals were 10 for 11 from field goal range, 4 for 5 from the three-point line in the first 8 minutes of playing time, and the lead continued to grow from there. And now for the defensive end for the Cardinals, they quickly get yet another steal, and here Mikey Oliveira drives it down to the paint. He dishes it back out to Robert Moon, who then drives in to get a tough layup on the right side. The captain, Robert Moon, ended up with game-high 23 points, got 7 rebounds, and even 1 assist to go with it. Cardinals up now 24-13. Now the bench comes in and keeps the lead going as Kobe Meyer screens off for Mikey Oliveira, who drills in his first 3 in the corner. Cardinals are now up by 19 points, the biggest lead for the entire night for the Cardinals. Cardinals are now at a 32-13 lead. They pass it out now to Mikey Oliveira, who takes another three-pointer up top. He would miss it, but that's okay because Kobe Meyer's there for not 1, not 2, but 3 attempts to get the putback two-pointer in. More from the Cardinals bench. The sophomore forward, Kevin Thaw from Pine Forge Academy, isolating and dominating his way into the paint to get the tough layup down the middle. The bench really stepped up this game, really showing their effort and putting in a lot on both offense and defense. Now for more Cardinal defense. Great Lakes swings the ball around. They pass it off as Andrew Simpson gets the steal and goes coast to coast, drives it in and gets an easy layup down bottom. Number 4, the Thor, gets 8 points, gets 3 rebounds, and finishes off with 3 assists of his own. The Cardinals continue to hold their double-digit lead now, bench moving the ball around very well, spacing the floor just enough for Kevin Thaw to find Cedric Anderson down bottom for his first and 1 down low. He would later make his free throw, getting and completing the 3-point play, and the Cardinals go into the half with a 47-32 lead. And on to the second half we go. The Cardinals does not let up on defense. Here they steal the ball with Brandon Vanderpowski. He drives it down bottom. He dishes it off to Andrew Simpson, who then finds Kobe Meyer to run baseline and drill in a bank shot off the glass. And next play, same move, same player, same result. Kobe Meyer gets the tough and 1 in the same spot down low on the right side. He had a monster night in the paint. Finished with a double-double, 15 points, 10 rebounds, and got 4 assists as well. That's all she wrote for this game. Cardinals were triumphant 78-65, and they have now won 2 of their past home games this week. A good month overall for the Cardinals at home.
We see the team is getting better, so what's behind this?
Well, there are a lot of reasons for this team improving this season. From last game, they started off 10 for 11 from field goal range, so it's not really hard for them to keep the momentum going from that. But overall, the Cardinals, we're now starting to see them play solid team basketball. They're moving the ball around very effectively. They stay consistent on both ends of the floor. And you now see them trusting that system to create for them better offensive plays and get those defensive stops. And that's exactly what they did this past Saturday night.
They're not yet at championship level, so what do they need to do?
Well, I got a chance to speak with their assistant coach, Junior Orlis, about what is that missing factor that they still need to get back to that championship level. And what he told me, and I completely agree with him, is that confidence level. Confidence in themselves, confidence in the teammates around them, and overall the confidence in that system. Because if we think back, Junior Orlis was on the team filled with confident players that played with each other for years, and that resulted into them getting 3 championships out of the past 4 years. This team, we haven't had such a roster remodel the way we've had this year in a very long time. So that's never an easy process, I guess, getting back to that confidence and that chemistry level. But in the future, I really believe that they can get back to that level, given more time, and only time will tell.
Thanks, Evan. And that's it for another AU News.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here next month.
Until then, God bless.